Have you ever wondered what really happens behind closed doors when the biggest band on Earth seems perfectly in sync on stage, but the backstage reality tells an entirely different story? Tonight, the fandom is shaken to its core as one question dominates every trending feed and every whispered conversation. Did Taehyung's secret Celine deal ignite a silent feud with Jungkook that no one saw coming? Or did they see it all along? In the last 12 hours alone, millions of fans have flooded every corner of social media with urgent demands for clarity, desperate to know why Jungkook, who has always been the first to congratulate Taehyung on any artistic milestone, appeared visibly stunned, if not entirely betrayed, the moment Taehyung announced his exclusive collaboration with Celine. But what exactly happened in that sealed meeting room where Taehyung finalized a project that many are calling the boldest and most divisive move of his career? Sources close to the label claim the Celine director personally extended a confidential invitation to Taehyung weeks before the official announcement. And if you're wondering whether any other BTS member was informed, the answer appears to be a resounding no. Was this a strategic omission, an innocent oversight, or the deliberate assertion of Taehyung's independence from the group's collective brand? The evidence, as it slowly emerges, only raises more unsettling questions. Eyewitnesses describe an atmosphere of thinly masked tension when Jungkook, dressed in understated black, walked into the rehearsal space hours after Taehyung's announcement hit the press. Some say Jungkook's expression shifted from confusion to something more wounded, as if the news had blindsided him in a way no headline could fully capture. Is this the moment the carefully curated harmony of BTS finally began to crack under the weight of individual ambition? For fans who have followed every heartbeat of this group since their debut, the idea that Taehyung would pursue a solo luxury fashion deal in absolute secrecy feels unthinkable. Yet here we are, grappling with a reality that seems stranger than any fiction, a reality in which one of the world's most beloved idols makes a move so bold that even his closest bandmate seems paralyzed by disbelief. And in that silence, caught on countless fan videos, replayed and scrutinized frame by frame, an unspoken story has begun to unfold. Why did Taehyung remain silent as speculation swirled? Was there an unspoken pact among the members to announce major solo ventures only after the group's reunion plans had solidified? If so, why break it now and why break it alone? Some insiders suggest the Celine partnership is not just a fashion statement, but an unambiguous declaration of independence, an artistic line in the sand Taehyung was determined to draw, no matter the cost to personal relationships. But what about Jungkook's side of the story? The youngest member, celebrated for his loyalty and steady presence, has never once hinted at resentment when other members explored individual paths. So, why does this moment feel so different? Why do seasoned observers describe a tension between the two that seemed to thicken the very air around them as they shared the same stage in Paris? Could it be that this partnership represents more than just a creative opportunity? Some claim it's evidence of a deeper schism, a long-simmering conflict over the group's future direction, exacerbated by military service, separate management deals, and the mounting pressure to remain relevant in a hyper-competitive industry. Or is it simpler than that? Just a personal choice that nonetheless lands like a betrayal when it arrives without warning. One particularly revealing clip shows Jungkook standing near the edge of the venue, expression unreadable, as Taehyung confidently described the vision behind the Celine project to a select circle of media insiders. When asked about Jungkook's absence from the planning, Taehyung merely offered a polite smile and declined to elaborate. Was that the moment the fandom's most cherished friendship became something else, a casualty of ambition, or simply a new chapter neither of them knows how to write? Meanwhile, fans have become digital detectives, dissecting every timeline, every stray comment, every fleeting gesture for proof that this rift was building long before the announcement. Some cite Taehyung's recent interviews, in which he spoke passionately about carving out his own identity. Others point to Jungkook's increasingly introspective lyrics, lines that hint at feelings of distance and uncertainty, which, in hindsight, seem less like abstract art and more like coded messages about real events. And so the question remains, is this a temporary misunderstanding, or the first undeniable crack in the unity BTS has fought so hard to protect? In the days since the Celine news broke, neither Jungkook nor Taehyung has offered a clear explanation, leaving a void that fans have filled with speculation, sorrow, and no small amount of anger. Could this silence itself be an answer, louder than any official statement could ever be? One anonymous staff member alleges that even before the Paris trip, there were disagreements over solo schedules and the impact these high-profile collaborations might have on the group's long-term plans. Is it possible that Taehyung simply decided to stop waiting for consensus? Could this be the moment he chose to bet on himself, no matter who might feel abandoned in the process? Tonight, as armies around the world refresh their feeds in the hope of clarity, the headlines remain a tangle of rumor and half-confirmed truths. Some fans have declared their unconditional support for Taehyung's right to explore every creative horizon. Others have expressed disappointment that the dream of a fully reunited BTS now feels a little further out of reach. In the absence of answers, every theory sounds plausible, every whisper sounds true. You might be wondering whether this controversy will fade as quickly as it arrived, another passing storm in the fandom's ever-shifting weather. But if you look closer, if you pay attention to the stunned hush that settled over the crowd when Jungkook left the stage without a word, you'll sense that something fundamental has shifted. The world saw two young men who have shared stages, secrets, and struggles standing just feet apart yet seeming oceans away. Was this how it was always going to be? In the end, a group born in unity, now splintering under the gravity of individual destinies? Or is this simply the painful transformation that must precede any new beginning? As you scroll through the endless stream of commentary, you'll see the same question asked in 1,000 variations. Is this the end of Taehyung as we know it? Tonight, no one can say for certain. What is undeniable is that Taehyung's secret Celine deal has ripped open a conversation too big to ignore. It's a conversation about loyalty, ambition, and the price of becoming exactly who you've always dreamed of being, even if it means leaving behind the people who helped you get there. As dawn approaches and the story continues to unfold in real time, one truth grows impossible to deny. Nothing about BTS will ever be quite the same again. And perhaps that's the most shocking revelation of all. If you're still searching for answers, you're not alone. The only certainty tonight is that the world is watching, breath held, waiting for one of them to speak the words that will finally make sense of it all. But until then, the silence between Jungkook and Taehyung is louder than any headline, and maybe that's the only clue you really need. If you think this is the final act in the unfolding drama, think again. Even as fans scramble for scraps of insider information, more questions keep emerging, each more uncomfortable than the last. Was this Celine partnership really just about fashion? Or was it a declaration that Taehyung is no longer content to wait for the group to regroup on someone else's timeline? Insiders close to the Paris event report that Taehyung's management team had been negotiating the terms of this project for nearly 6 months. 6 months. That's longer than some of the group's album rollouts. And yet, in all that time, there was not a single mention to the rest of BTS, not a single casual heads-up to the member who has stood at Taehyung's side through every era. If true, it is a revelation that cuts deeper than any stylistic rebranding or corporate strategy. Because if Taehyung was willing to keep this secret from Jungkook, whose unwavering loyalty has become almost legendary among ARMY, what else might he be keeping to himself? And is this really the first time these two have been out of sync, or just the first time the world has been allowed to see it? For years, fans have celebrated the so-called Taehyung bond as a symbol of unshakable friendship, proof that in the whirlwind of fame, some connections could not be broken. But as more details trickle out, that myth is starting to look heartbreakingly fragile. Some longtime observers have pointed to the way Jungkook's public appearances have grown more reserved, how he sometimes seems to hover on the edges of photos instead of standing close to Taehyung the way he once did. Is it any wonder that the phrase "Taehyung is over" began trending within minutes of the Celine announcement? It's a phrase few dared to imagine, and one that has now become a rallying cry for fans both defending and questioning Taehyung's choices. And yet, in the midst of this escalating spectacle, neither of them has offered a clarifying statement. There has been no apology, no denial, no warm reassurance that nothing has changed. Just a hollow quiet that feels heavier than any directed mission ever could. Why does the silence sting so much? Perhaps because it confirms a suspicion so many fans have struggled to acknowledge, that even the most iconic friendships can fracture under the pressure of ambition and opportunity. That maybe, just maybe, the fairy tale of BTS unity was always more fragile than we wanted to believe. Some observers insist this is an overreaction, that Taehyung's Celine project is simply an artist expressing himself without obligation to share every step of the process. And perhaps they're right. But the sheer scale of the fallout, the heartbreak written across Jungkook's face in those grainy fan videos, and the thunderous absence of any mutual support between the two suggest that this is more than a matter of scheduling conflicts. It's a moment of reckoning, a rare glimpse of how difficult it is to maintain a bond when personal dreams and collective promises collide. What happens now? As the global media scrambles to secure interviews and management teams huddle behind closed doors, ARMY are left to fill in the blanks themselves. Some are determined to believe this is temporary. Others are preparing for a future where BTS becomes less a unified front and more a constellation of individual stars, each charting a path that may not always intersect. Is this the future the group always feared? A future in which the brand survives but the relationships fade quietly into history. One cannot ignore the timing of this announcement. With the military discharge of other members still fresh and reunion plans hovering like an unanswered question, the Celine deal feels like a statement Taehyung was ready to move forward on his own terms, regardless of whether the rest of BTS was prepared to follow. And if Jungkook's reaction tells us anything, it's that even the most loyal hearts can only absorb so many shocks before something breaks. You can see it in the trembling hands of the fans holding their phones aloft, live streaming. Every moment they didn't understand but knew they had to witness. You can hear it in the wobbly voices chanting Taehyung's name even as the atmosphere turned from celebration to confusion. And you can feel it in the echo of Jungkook's departure, swift, unannounced, devastating in its finality. It is a moment that will be dissected for years to come. A moment when the world was forced to confront the reality that even the closest friendships can be undone not by a single betrayal, but by the slow accumulation of unspoken disappointments. Where does BTS go from here? Can these two artists, who have weathered so many storms together, find their way back to each other? Or will this silence harden into something irreversible, a fracture that will forever alter the group's story? As the sun rises over Seoul and Paris alike, the fandom waits, breath held, hoping for any sign that the bond can be salvaged. But until Taehyung or Jungkook break their silence, the truth remains out of reach, just a blur on the other side of the glass, as elusive as the first spark of fame that brought them together. And perhaps that's what makes this moment feel so historic. Not just the shock of the announcement, but the realization that no matter how many times we chant forever, forever is something each of them will have to choose again and again. Until then, the silence between them is the only answer we have. And it may be the loudest message of all.